Big tech earnings on deck next week, kicking off Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla on Wednesday, followed by Apple on Thursday. Investors looking for details on how companies are monetizing AI and how President Trump's policies could impact their bottom lines. Joining us now, we have Dan Ives. He's Wedbush Securities Managing Director, Global Head of Technology Research. Dan, it's great to have you. So we had the update from Meta here this morning just in terms of their spending plans for AI exceeding the street's expectations. Is this a sign of just what's to come here over the next week or two?
Yeah, look, I think it's just get the popcorn out. Because in my opinion, this is the start of this massive build out of AI CapEx that I think the street's massively underestimating. I mean, think about the 80 billion number from Microsoft. Now you got Meta. And it's the multiplier. For every dollar spent on NVIDIA chip, there's an $8 to $10 multiplier across the rest of tech. That's bullish for tech. And of course, with Trump and Stargate, I think it just shows this fourth industrial revolution just starting.
You hear of a $60 billion type of spend that is coming forward from Meta on that AI. What is the multiplier from Meta for those dollars that are going out and being invested into some of their efforts?
It's about use cases, because ultimately, when you look at Meta, the AI capabilities on advertising, on subscriber growth, and ultimately building out businesses that don't even exist today. Because it's all about monetizing that install base. And there's no different than the way that the hyperscalers have done with Microsoft, Amazon, Google. And now it's going to start playing out on the consumer side. And I think, look, Zuckerberg and Meta, they're one step ahead here in terms of where this is all heading. Clearly, Google's heading down the same path. And I think it just shows the street is underestimating what the growth's going to look like for tech, not just next week, but for 2025, 2026, where I think tech stocks are up another 25% this year, especially with a lot of the regulatory sweep the legs, in the Karate Kid reference, in terms of where that's all been going.
Let's talk a little bit more about the regulatory efforts in the Trump administration, maybe the impact it's going to have on some of these names. Let's kick it off with Tesla, since we're getting those results on Wednesday there. They've been the outperformer, the Mag 7, since we got the election results here of Trump. Dan, I'm curious, why is it viewed as such a catalyst here for Tesla, given the fact that we are going to see a bit of a clawing back here of some of those Biden-era policies that were very pro-EV?
Yeah, look, I think when you look at the $7,500 credit, and that's more of maybe a negative for new entrants, Detroit Big Three and others. For Tesla, the game here, I think 90% of what's going to drive the stock, it's the autonomous and the AI future. Because that's the ultimate story here. Because when you think about it, I think the autonomous piece could be worth $1 trillion alone. The biggest issue has been regulatory. That now is going to drastically change under the Trump administration. Obviously, Musk playing, I think, a strong role in terms of where this is all going. And that's why I think the stock is actually underestimating what this is going to do to the story in terms of cyber cabs, autonomous, FSD, robotics. And that's why I think there's a $2 trillion market cap. Next week starts what I believe is going to be a massive year ahead.
A lot of that regulatory red tape, though, has been delegated to the states with regard to the full self-driving and implementation on the roads. So to what extent do you expect a federal force to come forward and rescind that from the states and then it add into Tesla's outlook?
I mean, you nailed it, Brad, because, to me, that's where it's all going. It's going to be taken to the federal perspective, federal roadmap. Ultimately, where autonomous is going to go, you're almost going to need like a federal license to operate it, even on a fleet perspective. The states will have a role, but it goes back to you have to take it away from the kids at the little kids table at Thanksgiving. Federal needs to actually rule this, because that's why when you look where this has gone, it's gone nowhere. And it speaks to Trump coming in, a lot of these AI initiatives. It started with Stargate. Autonomous is going to be the next piece, I think, in terms of a federal roadmap coming out. And that lays the groundwork for what's going to be a new age, when it comes to not just for Tesla, but I think when you think about Waymo and others and just overall autonomous.
All right, Dan, real quick, we only have about 20 seconds here, but also Tesla launching that new Model Y in North America and Europe. What do you think that pricing strategy is going to look like, just given the fact that we have seen consumers and many of these companies slashing prices in order to boost that volume?
It's a barbell. That's one, and I think they'll have the sub $35,000 vehicle they'll announce first half of this year. They're in a massive position of strength. But as we always say, haters will hate. But I think this is ultimately a stock that has a massive run this year. A lot of tailwinds, autonomous front and center.
Dan, thanks so much for taking the time. Look,
Thank you.
I guess I'll have to take a ride in a cybercab one day once they're available. Just to
By next year, you'll be in a cybercab. Late next year, you and Saz will be in a cybercab.
sounds good. We'll put it to the test. Thanks so much, Dan. Appreciate it.